Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Over Ottawa. Damian Smith here. I'm going to be rolling solo tonight. The Ottawa Senators come out with a much needed victory over the New Jersey Devils. A 3-2 win on the road Saturday night. The building was bumping tonight in New Jersey. You could tell that they're pretty hungry for their return to playoff hockey. Of course, they made it 2 seasons ago, but a nice win for the Ottawa Senators that was really needed because, we were on a little bit of a slide. We were on a little bit of a slide these past 2 games. The game against Montreal, right? You have that 3-2 lead, and Montreal, we'll talk about it a little bit tonight because they have been pushing so hard for that last wild card spot and maybe even first wild card spot as well. And then, of course, the last game against Colorado. I think that game was super important in the fact that they needed to just get their asses beat. They needed that because that sparked the team a little bit. The team was hungry tonight, and they made some line changes, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit maybe in the second period tonight. But those line changes proved to help this squad tonight. And it wasn't a pretty game by any means, but you're on the road. Those games are going to happen, and those are the games that you might not have a higher chance of winning if you look at the analytics and all the fancy stats behind it. But if you find a way to come out with the win, you can't blame them for that performance there tonight. New Jersey really started pouring it on. But let's go over the game here. 3-2 win for the Ottawa Senators. No goals in the first period. I think that's kind of what you want because this team can play defense. They can play defense, and the key is getting the first goal. And that's what they did. As the captain, Brady Tkachuk, gets his 28th of the season. He's on pace to obviously hit another year with 30 goals. He's catching up in the offensive department. In the past, I think it was around 10 to 20 games ago, he went through a huge slump. So he's probably not going to hit a point per game this year, but is still the heart and soul of the team. It is a redirected pass from Jake Sanderson. It kind of squeaks through the 7-hole of Jake Allen. Secondary assist goes to Tim Stützle. Jake Sanderson, it feels like he has gained a point every single game for this squad. Absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that, yes, his plus-minus doesn't look that good, but he's only getting started. And he is going to log a ton of key minutes for his entire career with the Sens, whenever that may end. But we're only getting started with this player, and he's so good. Right after, 2 goals, I think it was in 33 seconds, Drake Batherson, the Sens keep it in. Hamonic kind of throws it to the net. It redirects off of a body in the slot. Dylan Cousins has an open shot on his one-timer side, and instead of shooting, I think he tried to pass that to Batherson, sells the shot to Batherson, backdoor, tap-in goal. That is his 20th of the year, so Batherson is getting back into the goal-scoring, ritual, I guess, if you want to call it that. He is being rejuvenated from the trade from Cousins, and Josh Norris, love the guy, but I think that's his 4th straight game that he's lost. And I don't want to blame a guy for injuries. It's just kind of how it goes. And Dylan Cousins has, I think, 7 points in 8 games since he became an Ottawa Senator. That's exactly what you want out of your second-line center. Shortly after, though, New Jersey does get back in the game. It is a penalty from the Sens, and so Luke Hughes has the puck at the top of the key, passes it over to the left side to Jesper Bratt, who is maybe a top 10 passer in the league, arguably top 5. He has, I think, over, 50 or 60 assists this year. Insanely skilled player. Finds Hischier on the back door for the one-timer. I don't like the diamond formation, and I don't think anyone does, because if you have the diamond formation, that's something you have to pick up. If you go with the box, sometimes a play like that can go through. But when you have 2 guys in the middle, those 2 guys in the middle are there to block off the one-timer pass, especially if you're going the left shot on the left side to the passing across the slot to the guy on the right side who is a left shot, and the Sens, unfortunately, leave Hischier kind of hanging there. You can't blame Ullmark whatsoever. Just kind of how it goes. But the Sens still have the lead, though. They still have the lead, and the good thing is that they didn't let that get to their play. I was kind of screaming at my computer after the game. It's like, okay, don't let a quick one back. Like, do not do it, because that's the difference, I think, between, playoff teams and then teams who are sort of frauds at this point in time, is that it's just those little moments of the game where you can't let momentum take over, especially when you're on the road and you have a lead there. So for the Sens, they did a good job at kind of shutting it down, and their second period was very impressive, probably the best one. And over the years, the Sens have not been a good second period team whatsoever. They have. The first period has always been good through the DJ Smith era, and the third was a little bit better, but it was because they kind of just played looser, so they got more pucks towards the net, they got more chances, but the second period was when they really lost most of their games, and they've been much better at that this year, much more consistent. And sorry, I actually forgot to say, David Perron, actually, the Sens did not go to the second period with a 2-1 lead. They actually rebounded to make it 3-1, so I apologize for that mistake there. Perron on the power play, these vets have been so clutch, because the thing is, if we didn't have these vets right now in this lineup, this team would obviously still be in the mix, but if you don't have Claude Giroux and guys like David Perron in the lineup, you are arguably like 6 or 8 points back of the race. Because you need guys like that. And they have the depth right now. That's the thing, right? They can afford to move pieces around the top 9 and even like the fourth line too, right? Like you see Michael Amadio on the fourth line tonight. But as going back to that 3-1 goal, David Perron out in front, screening to Jake Gallen. Ridley Gregg has the puck down low, and then he feeds it up high. Sorry, not high, kind of in the slot area. Claude Giroux takes a one-timer, and it goes off of David Perron's knee. So, if they don't ask how you did it, they just ask how many. And David Perron has 8 points in his last 11 games for the Ottawa Senators. I think we just kind of forgot about him for half the season, right? Because he obviously came in for the first 9 games, didn't score, and had no points on the board. And then, of course, he had personal issues that he had to attend to. And then he got injured again, and then he came back, and he got his first goal in Nashville, which was right before the Four Nations, and I think that was a good time for him to actually, get on the score sheet. And ever since coming back from the Four Nations, he has been one of the Sens' best players. I had a comment on the Locked On Senators post just after the second period saying that it is a luxury to have Claude Giroux and David Perron on your second power play unit. And yes, they're like 36, 37 years of age, but they still do such a good job at it because they're so good on the boards. And having, when you have a first power play unit of, I think the oldest guy on the unit is Batherson at 26. And you have Cousins, who's 24. You have Sanderson, who's 22. Brady is 25. Timmy, who's 23. On that second unit, Perron and Giroux don't have to worry about taking a lot of the load on the offensive side of things. They can kind of just do their thing on the second unit, and there are arguably so many other players on this team that you could just throw out there on the second power play unit. Like Fabian Zetterlund is on the second unit right now. Shane Pinto is not. You could throw out a Matteo if you wanted there. There are still so many players on this team that Adam Gaudette isn't on the second unit, right? And this guy has played pretty much every game this year, I think. But yeah, the Sens head into the second period with a 3-1 lead. And most of the time, the Sens will end up, with a win when they have the lead in the second period. I think that, or heading to the third period, I think their record is something like 25-1, something insanely good. New Jersey does press, but I think for the most part, for the first 15 minutes, the Sens did a pretty good job at limiting those chances against the Devils. And then the Devils really start pressing. Luke Hughes, Brett Pesce, they go out of the game for a little bit. I was like, wow, are they both going to be out for the rest of the game? They actually come back minutes later. And then Eric Haula makes it 3-2 for the Sens with 22 seconds left to go. And then, oh my God, Sheldon Keefe starts milking this call and resting up his guys. And I totally get it. Like, fair play, just fake it so that you can get Heischer out there. You can get Hughes a breather. You can get Jesper Bratt and Timo Meyer. You can throw to all of these guys. Like, he starts talking to the ref after the call was called a good goal, and he still is talking to them, right? And Travis Green's like, come on, let's go. Like, 22 seconds left on the clock here. Why are you taking forever? Luckily, man, I have to go back to that last play though, because the puck is literally in the crease. It is a shot from, I think it was Jesper Bratt on the right side. Stefan Noesen has like an opportunity to bury that puck in the back of the net because the puck is in the blue paint behind Ullmark, and the Sens just absolutely crowd the crease. Every single player is like in the highest player is in like the lower slot pretty much, just protecting the house to the best of their abilities. And Stefan Noesen, I think his like stick got knocked out of his hands, and honestly, like, sure, call it a slash if you want, but though I'm surprised players don't do that more often. Like, let's say there is 5 seconds left on a play. Like, just slash the guy's stick out of his hand. You can do it, right? Yeah, sure, the guy might be cheesed, the opposing player, but do it. And that's what Artem Zub kind of did. It wasn't a vicious slash, but because Stefan Noesen had one hand on his stick, you know what? Like, you are a NHL player, you are a grizzled vet, a guy who has battled your entire career, and you happen to have one hand on your stick in the crease. That costed him. That costed him because the puck got knocked out of his hands. And honestly, a high IQ play there by Zub if he meant to do it, because he saved the goal. He saved the tying goal, and that could have been devastating for this team, right? Because they needed that win an insane amount. And there have been games down the stretch here. You go back to the Detroit game where Lucas Raymond tied it up with like no seconds left on the clock, but the goal didn't count because they got a little lucky. And they got lucky here too. But you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to apologize for my team winning hockey games. I'm really not. So the Sens snap their 2-game losing streak, and there's not a lot of road games left, folks. There's not a lot of road games left in the season. I think, let me check the standings here real quick. I think we have 4 or 5 left in the season. Our away record is 17-17-3, so you will take that considering how bad this team has been on the road over the past 5, 6, 7 years. I'm going to just say 7 years because it's been that long. But yes, 17-17-3, that means they have 4 games on the road. So they're going to have one in Columbus, they're going to have one in Pittsburgh, and then I just want to check the schedule here. On my phone, the Sens will have 2 days off. They'll be back on Tuesday. Against the Sabres on the road. And then the last one is on the road against the Red Wings. So the Red Wings are going to lose tonight as well. They're pretty much done. And you know what? I'm just going to use this opportunity to sort of not maybe like hate on the Red Wings a little bit, because this should have been happening a long time ago. Because we're going to touch on the out-of-town scoreboard in the second period. But yeah, so Detroit, Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Buffalo. Those are the 4 road games left on the table. And no, none of those teams are in the playoffs. So there's an opportunity here. That's what I'll say. There's an opportunity here because the past 2 games against Colorado, they're a great team. Top 5, arguably, in the league. And then you have New Jersey, who isn't the best team in the world, and they've had their struggles in the second half, even with Jack Hughes in the lineup. But you know what? They got the job done. You got to win those games. And I mean, honestly, considering the circumstances, winning in New Jersey on the road on a Saturday night while they're in a playoff push, that's not easy to do. That's not easy to do, especially when you don't have Nick Jensen in the lineup. But they got the job done. Can't complain about it. And we move on to the next game. The playoffs should be in everyone's mind, but we can't celebrate it till we see the clinch. We can't. They hit win 37 tonight. Once they hit 45, I'm good. I'm good on the season. But let's just keep it going, right? Let's keep it going. Don't get too excited, because we did that after the 6-game winning streak, and they lost a couple there. But here we are. We're back in it, and let's move forward here. So before we head into the second segment, I just want to talk about the out-of-town scoreboard. I just wanted to talk about our flagship podcast, which is Hyperdrive Hockey. It is out on every Tuesday and Friday. Max, Daphne, and Kevin have you covered. They talk about all things hockey across the world, prospects, different teams, and leagues across the league and everything like that. So please go check that out. You can find it on all platforms. Probably best way to watch it, though, is YouTube, because YouTube is great for podcasts nowadays. Let's talk about the out-of-town scoreboard, where basically, I don't know how many games there were tonight, but I feel like almost every single team was in the schedule tonight. One of the last Saturdays of the year. This is a great time to be a hockey fan, because you just, and if you're in the race, too. If you're in the race, oh my goodness, you are scoreboard watching like crazy. I haven't been doing, sort of did it in 2023, sort of, but the Sens were actually never in a playoff spot. Around this time. They were, I think, 3 or 4 points back, but that was the best we got to. So as of right now, the game going on currently between the Detroit Red Wings and the Vegas Golden Knights, the Golden Knights are up 5-2. So, yeah, it's probably over. I could be wrong. I could be, but the Red Wings are basically going to be 500. We kind of killed their season, honestly, from that game at home. Earlier in the afternoon, the New York Rangers come out with a 5-3 win against the Vancouver Canucks. Not the best scenario, the Canucks, please win, but they didn't. Vancouver's its whole issue this year. They're still around the playoff spot, though. The Flyers, they're out of it. The Sabres, they're out of it. Both teams lose. The New York Islanders pick up a point against the Calgary Flames, and the Islanders have kind of come out of nowhere in the last 10 games, even after selling at the deadline, right? Brock Nelson, he goes to Colorado, and, because the bulk of teams that have been extremely mid this year, and they have been mid recently, the Islanders have gone on a 5-3-2 stretch, which has propelled them to 2 points out of the playoffs. And they also beat Montreal the other night. So that was a huge game for them. I just hope they don't make it. I don't want to see the Islanders in the 8th spot. It might be a bit shocking, but Montreal, I hope Montreal makes it. Because as long as they don't overtake the Sens, I'm good. I'm good as Montreal as the 8th seed. We'll talk about them in a sec here. The Hurricanes lose 7-2 to the Kings, but, doesn't really matter. The Capitals beat the Panthers 6-3. So, if you're talking about teams that are above the Sens, we'll touch upon that in the standings. But, you know what? You'll take it. You'll take an Atlantic Division loss any day of the week. The Lightning also lose against the Utah Hockey Club. So, cool. You know what? Top 3 spot, it's still there. It's still there for the taking, I guess. The Montreal Canadiens were down 4-1 tonight and came back, tied the game up at the Bell Center. The place is going absolutely bananas. This is against the Colorado Avalanche, who the Sens got spanked from on Thursday. Luckily, though, I think this is sort of the best case scenario where I want Montreal in the 8th spot. I do. I want them in the 8th spot over teams like the Rangers, the Islanders. I would actually like the Blue Jackets to make it, but I don't know if they're going to now. And then, Detroit, I don't want them in there. The Maple Leafs lose. They were up 2-0 against the Predators on the road, and then the Preds scored 5 straight goals to win. So, 3 losses from the teams above us in the Atlantic Division. The Habs get 1 point. Kind of keeps them in the mix enough, though. The only thing I complained about is that the Islanders got a point, I guess, and then also the Rangers won their game. But that's basically as good of a night you can get for the out-of-town scoreboard. Really, I'm serious. The Sens are going to be okay for at least right now. The cushion has been increased just a little bit. Because right now, the three teams above us are Florida at 87 points with 70 games played, Toronto with 87 points with 70 games played, Tampa Bay with 85 points in 69 games played. The Sens are 6 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are 8 points back of the Panthers and Toronto with 1 game in hand. Unfortunately, we're not going to be playing these teams except for Florida and Tampa Bay in April. And those are like, we're going to have to go on a crazy 6-game winning streak to even just get in the mix anyway. I think we just, as a fan base, need to focus on getting that first wild card spot. That's the goal, I think. And getting the first wild card spot is not like a disappointment whatsoever. It's just, it's going to be really hard to even snag an Atlantic Division spot right now because all three of those teams just absolutely loaded up at the deadline. It's possible Florida might pull back, but I think, if the Sens just keep up this pace, I think we are not going to be playing. I don't think we're going to be playing a Metro team. Most likely we're playing any three of those teams right now. I don't think we're going to be playing Washington if we make the playoffs, unless we go on a slide, because that's still possible, and we still have 13 games left in the season. That is a possible 26 points on the table. The most amount of points the Sens can get is 105 this year. They can actually technically still get 50 wins. But yeah, they have to go on a 14-game win streak to end the season. But yeah, I would just say, if you want to jump ahead, get ready to play one of those top 3 teams tonight. As of right now, for the teams below us, let's start from the bottom here. I'm just going to throw in Boston because it's going to make me feel better. The Sens are 10 points up on the Boston Bruins. Okay, with a game in hand as well. Boston is done because they have gone 3-6-1, and they also just sold everyone at the deadline. Thank God Boston is not in the playoffs. No one wanted that other than the Bruins. They are a good watch. I'm checking the chat here. Matthew says, what a W it was, man. Want Montreal and Ottawa wild card, and he also says Tampa Bay hasn't been very great lately. I think we'll get a divisional spot. It's a decent point, Matthew. It's just that Tampa Bay has also gone all in, and they also have Vasilevsky, and we also have, we have a game against them, which may help in the standings, but at the same time, it's also really hard to pass these teams at this point of the season. The good thing is for the Sens that they have the easiest schedule in the league, literally down the stretch. And you take off New Jersey, oh boy, there could be a lot of wins on the table, but I don't want to jinx that because I can't get ahead of myself too much, and I hope everyone else can do the same. But let's move on to the next team, the Detroit Red Wings, because they are going to lose tonight, I would assume, as I check the score. It's 5-3 right now for the Vegas Golden Knights as at the time of this recording, but should be okay. It should be okay. The Detroit Red Wings, if they lose tonight, will be 9 points back of us, but the same amount of games played. So Detroit, this is not my time to crap on them now. Detroit is the middest team in the entire NHL. They don't have a superstar. They don't have a legit starting goalie. They may have a number 1 D in Moritz Seider. They may, but he is relied on too much. He needs more help there. You have your top 4. Edvinson's solid, sure, but he's still really young. Then you have Ben Sherratt and Jeff Petrie. Come on, Steve Yzerman. This is the classic example of mid, and you are going to get the 12th overall pick every single season. The way that honestly, if I was a Red Wings fan, I would want Steve Yzerman fired. I would, because it has been too long since the Red Wings have a longer playoff drought than the Sens. Seriously, Buffalo, we could crap on them all we want, but between the time that the Red Wings and the Sabres last made the playoffs, that's 5 years. Buffalo made in 2011. The Red Wings made in 2016. So they have been bad for a decade. Like, pretty much. Pretty much. They have been bad for a decade. Dylan Larkin was drafted in 2014. He made his playoff debut in his rookie season in 2016 when Pavel Datsyuk was still on the team. Datsyuk left, and then the Red Wings haven't made it since. And it is embarrassing that a storied franchise like the Red Wings, who I don't know how many cups they have, but they have a lot of Stanley Cups, and they were dominating the league for like 20 years pretty much, are just absolute, like, they're not bad and they're not great. And the thing is that there's not a lot of pieces in their system that are going to, if I was a Red Wings fan, feel like they're going to be great one day, because they don't have a superstar. Dylan Larkin is a great player, but ideally, he's like a second-line center on a Stanley Cup winning team. So, and then their goaltenders, you have Sebastian Cossa coming up. I think he's doing pretty well in the AHL right now. But if you're just waiting for him, my goodness. Like, Steve Yzerman, you also, like, they also had the chance to make the playoffs last year, and they squashed it with a terrible run down the stretch. It was literally in their hands, and then they somehow gave up that opportunity to the Washington Capitals. So yeah, Detroit, they're done. They're done. I would honestly, have more belief in the Bruins to make it. Columbus has been an absolute slide for this team down the stretch. Matthew says Dead Wings are dead. Yep. Sherratt and Hall on purpose, and they have Talbot on purpose. Yeah, like Talbot actually was decent. But the thing is, if Cam Talbot's like 37, and he's your starting goalie, and you're going to roll a 3-goalie rotation right now with Alex Lyon, Cam Talbot, and Peter Mrazek. Mrazek has a year left on his contract at $4 million. And Cam Talbot has another year next year on his contract. So you're going to lose Lyon, I guess, in the offseason, and you're just going to roll with Talbot and Mrazek? Come on. Like, what are we doing here? Sorry. I feel kind of passionate about that because the Red Wings have been in conversation with the Sens for so long, and Red Wings fans also want to, like, talk all their trash last year against us, miss the playoffs and everything. But the thing is that the Red Wings had a crazy high shooting percentage last year, and I was honestly kind of insulted that people had them in the playoff race, or predicted them to make the playoffs this season. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe that gets clipped from a Red Wings Twitter user or something, and I, get crapped on for whatever reason. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of Red Wings fans would disagree with me, because that franchise, unfortunately, Steve Yzerman should have been fired like 2 years ago, probably. But, of course, he's a hockey legend, so... An Ottawa legend as well. So that's why he wasn't fired. But yeah, what are we got going on? 30 minutes now. Okay, Columbus Blue Jackets have lost, I think, 6 in a row now. They, unfortunately, are 4 points back of the Montreal Canadiens. Man, they had such a good run, and it's possible they still make it. The Sens actually haven't played the Blue Jackets this year. Like, they have 3 games against them in their last 13 games of the season up against the Blue Jackets. So there's an opportunity there if the Blue Jackets can snag all 6 points, and then let's say the Habs sort of go on another run and they pass the Sens. But yeah, right now we are 8 points up on them, and with 2 home games against them. We're gonna have a back-to-back against them as well. The Islanders, they are 6 points back with the same games amount played. The New York Rangers are 5 points back with 2 more games played. So we have 2 games in hand with 5 points up. Could have been better, too, if Vancouver came out with the win tonight, but I'm not going to complain with the out-of-town scoreboard. And the Montreal Canadiens are 4 points back with the same amount of games played. Kudos to the Montreal Canadiens. They obviously, went through that short sort of rebuild after the 21 run, and they've come out of it, and people were saying, okay, Montreal is going to be 8th in the division this year, but they're going to be 500. And then Buffalo sucked again, and Detroit went on these insanely great runs. Like they had, I think, 2 6 or 7 game winning streaks in the year, and they're at middling levels. But if they didn't hire Todd McClellan, they would be arguably way worse. They might have been even worse than Buffalo in the standings if they didn't fire Derek Lalonde. And then here are the Habs, right? Here are the Habs, man. And you saw their pushback against the Sens the other night. Very impressive. Very impressive. Especially considering like they have that first line with Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Suzuki. And then they kind of have a bunch of, like, their second line is, a bunch of third liners and stuff. You could throw in Line A there. But they've managed to make it work. Even like Sam Montembeault is an average goaltender, and then what's his face? Sorry, I have blank right now. Caden Gooley is out of their lineup right now as well. So kudos to the Habs. They're absolutely like running right now, and they're picking up these extra points. It would be super ideal. And yes, Matthew, I agree. Like if you want Ottawa in the first wild card and Montreal in the second, Bettman would hate that. Yeah. Matthew asks, how about Zetterlund tonight? Multiple chances. I thought Zetterlund, I think people sort of overhyped him to a degree. And yes, he's pointless. And I don't think he's been bad by any stretch. You obviously want him to get a couple goals, but the beauty of adding Zetterlund is that you can now roll like 3 lines of scoring and have these sort of duos. Like Timmy and Brady can carry the pace of play on a first line. Dylan Cousins and Drake Patterson can carry the pace of play for the second line. And then you got Ridley Gregg and Shane Pinto as your third line duo. Oh my goodness. Like that is a luxury to have. So then all you need to do, Fabian Zetterlund, is be the third line on that third guy on that line. Go in the corners, get the pucks, and eventually you're going to start scoring goals. That line got a goal tonight, and he did get a point on it, but he still played a pivotal role. And so that's something to look out for. And then, of course, David Perron being the third guy on that second line, beautiful. Absolutely awesome, because he has fit in perfectly. Even without that, even without, sorry, I'm blanking right now. It'll come back to me. And then you have Claude Giroux as your third guy on the third line. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. I mentioned that Ridley Gregg and Shane Pinto were a duo on the third line. I didn't even throw in Claude Giroux there because that guy is not a third liner. That's a awesome third line, like awesome. So, and then, you have Amadio on the fourth. Gaudette isn't your typical fourth line center, but he has done his job, and he has, his offense has kind of gone dry, but whatever. I don't care. And then Highmore, you're kind of waiting for him to come out, and then, you throw Nick Cousins. But, hey, if I'm complaining about my 11th and 12th forwards on the team, I'm good. David Perron is back to his Detroit playing style, Matthew says. Yes. Perron is just consistent in this league, right? He knows kind of what to do. He understands that, he's not in his prime anymore, but he does the things he's good at to the best of his abilities, and that is board play, that is making the right reads, and that is also sort of just running the power play. Like, he does it very well. He can play in the slot. He can play down low. He can play very well in the half wall. His hockey IQ is very high, and that's what keeps him in the league because he's been a consistent scorer in this league. It just took a little while for him to, get his feet wet with the Sens. Yeah, we have a wealth of depth. We do. And that's something we haven't been able to say for the longest time for the Ottawa Senators. Because it's always just been Stützle, Tkachuk, Batherson, and then Norris you throw in there. And then you have these younger guys like Shane Pinto, Ridley Gregg, but then no one else. And then they added Giroux, but then you add like Michael Amadio and then David Perron in the offseason. And that just kind of rounds it out a little more. And it is nice to see that, the younger guys are, entering their prime. And then you also add Fabian Zetterlund, who's not just a guy who's going to go out there, get his 10 minutes of ice, and get off. Like, he will provide offense, and he will provide more opportunities for this team to score goals. And it was a great addition by Steve Staios. Yes, he has got a point yet, but there's been some, like, you need guys to go out there and play 12 minutes a night and be valuable. You do. Because if not, you're overusing Stützle, you're overusing Tkachuk, and you're just running these guys into the ground, and then they kind of burn out towards the end of the season. But now you have 3 or 4 lines of scoring, and your top 4 is already set because Travis Hamonick's in there. No, but like, shout out Hammer. I guess he was pretty good tonight. Please, can we have Jensen back though? Kastelik was terrible, and Mac wasn't good either. Agreed. Like, McEwen, plug and play, sure, if you want. Call him up if you want, but Zach McEwen should not be playing 82 games a season. Mark Kastelik started off hot with Boston. He got a 3-year contract, and he just really fizzled out. And Mark Kastelik is not an everyday NHL player. Like, it's not. He doesn't have the third line upside. He's 26. He has the prototype of a fourth line center because he's big. He's like 6'3", and he is physical, and he has great faceoffs. But if you can't put up the offense, then you won't. Like, in my opinion, he should be an extra forward. Only decent fourth liner was Parker Kelly. Yeah, and you're seeing him actually have some success in Colorado. I was surprised they didn't add him, but you know what? If you're replacing a fourth liner, like, I'm not going to complain about it, because if your team just goes on, sometimes you just need a little jolt in the room, and that's what they did with the Norris trade. And when you leave Parker Kelly out of the equation, then, you know, guys like Timmy and Brady got to wonder, okay, I got to pick up my socks just a little bit down the stretch here, because obviously we want to make the playoffs. So yeah, that fourth line has, you know, you're kind of, fourth line is Adam Gaudette and Matthew Highmore. Funny enough, like, Travis Green loves those players because they were in Vancouver together. But yeah, I mean, hey, we're winning games. I'm not going to complain about it too much. Matthew Highmore is ideally out of the lineup when Nick Cousins comes back. I don't know what the Sens are going to do with their penalty kill. I'm not going to lie. Their penalty kill, because you have Greg Pinto, sure, that's great, and then you have Giroux and Matteo, I think. I think it's Giroux and Highmore right now, and then Cousins and Amadio. So, I mean, I don't mind Highmore and Giroux in there, but ideally Giroux's just, he never killed penalties before. So, Greg and Pinto, great penalty killers, and then you have Cousins, who ideally also isn't killing penalties, but I guess he can sort of step it into a job. And Amadio, I'm fine with. But, like, in the offseason, it would be nice for the Sens to sign a fourth-line center or a guy that can, you know, go like a Brandon Tanev type. Matthew, the final comment of the night, because I'm just going to wrap up after. Or if anyone has any questions in the chat, please throw them in, because I'm going on 40 minutes now solo. I yap so much. Oh, my goodness. He said, I was saying it was Norris that was the problem when he's hurt. We lose, which was bad. Yeah, like, okay, no, it's... Josh Norris, I feel so bad for the guy, because obviously we just, like, start winning way more when he leaves. But it was needed. And he didn't even play 200 games for this team. He didn't. And we gave him $64 million. Like, he wasn't in the lineup enough. And Dylan Cousins has the higher upside than Josh Norris. He does. Josh Norris took advantage of a really good season in 2022, was going to score 40 goals, which is insane to look back on it. And then everyone took notice that he was a really good hockey player. And yeah, he's going to continue to be a good hockey player. Is he going to be worth $8 million, though? I don't think so. Can Dylan Cousins be worth $7.1 million for 5 more seasons as the salary cap increases? Yes, definitely. You also tackle in how Dylan Cousins is also a right shot, because before you're going lefty, lefty, righty, and then now you can go lefty, righty with Stützle and then Cousins. He's also 6'3", a bit bigger, and then of course the health. Dylan Cousins, unless something goes really bad, is going to be in this lineup pretty much every night. That's just how it goes. Josh Norris, love the guy, good defensive player, good penalty killer, can score, and is good on faceoffs. Good guy in the room. But you know what? If your team is winning hockey games, Brady Tkachuk isn't. He might care a little bit, but he's not going to care that much if his team is winning hockey games. He's still going to be able to visit Josh Norris in the offseason. And you know what? We're going to see Josh Norris maybe in the next game if he's able to come back from his injury, right? It's the injuries. And I think that's his third separate injury that he's had this year, because he was out with a bit at the start of the year, and then he got injured with 4 minutes left against the Minnesota Wild when we were winning the game 6-0. And I think it was like a stick to the groin area. Right? I never fault anyone for just, being bad because they're injured or whatever, right? It's just how it goes. And sometimes it's not even his fault, arguably. Unless he puts himself in that position, it's not his fault that he's injury prone, per se, right? But Dylan Cousins has played every single game, and he doesn't get injured. So, and then yes, Terry adds that Buffalo, we got a second round pick from that. I don't know how. It's unreal. It's unreal. This Steve Stamkos in every key trade has killed it. He kind of takes advantages of these teams at the right moments. When you go back to the Zetterlund trade last minute against the Sharks, Ullmark, time's ticking with that goaltending tandem in Boston, right? Steals him, sends Korpisalo the other way, and only has to send a late first for a guy that has 2 points in 30 college games right now. And Dean Letourneau, my goodness. And then you factor in the Cousins trade when Buffalo needs to get rid of him. And he has been arguably the Sens' best player since he got traded here. Cheers to you, Matthew. Thank you for spreading that. I appreciate it. That's going to wrap it up for tonight, I think. 40 minutes we're pushing on here. I'm just going to get a glass of water after this because, my goodness. The Sens win 3-2. They will be back in action in a couple of days on Tuesday against the Buffalo Sabres on the road. Can we please beat the Buffalo Sabres? Can we please beat them? Because we haven't done that this year, and we've gotten smoked both times. I don't get it. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hope you have a great Saturday night, and go Sens, go.